Honestly, at this point, these losses keep racking up. I honestly don't know what to say anymore. It seems like every game turns out differently and someone else is the culprit of the losses. When we do some things good or we've improved on things that we've struggled with, something else falters. It's like the team can never put it all together in one game. And honestly, it's draining. It's exhausting as a fan. As you can see, my energy's low. It was last game too against Carolina. And yeah, it really sucks. You come into the season with a lot of high hopes and you know, you have all these visions like, you know what, we'll compete for a wild card. Not necessarily make the playoffs, but we'll compete. And then here we are 2-5, almost at the midway point of the season. And it's like, how good can we be? What's the best record we could realistically finish with? Like, you know, an 8-8 record? But yeah, before I get into the reaction of the game, please make sure to click subscribe down below. I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos. And yeah, I'm going to keep doing them throughout the season, whether we win or lose, whether we're good or we suck. And that's just what it's like as a Bucs fan. So the first winner of the game, I have to give it to Mike Evans. 11 catches, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. What else can be said about that guy? Like, he is the epitome of a team player. Never gets, you know, real salty or diva-ish. When Chris Godwin is balling out, always does his job. He's quiet. Amazing game from him. Caught a lot of contested balls, a lot of deep balls. He was there when we needed him the most. And I figured at some point he was going to explode again and Chris Godwin was going to come back to earth. And I'm just grateful that we have two receivers, two number one receivers realistically. And one can always pick up the slack if one is struggling. You double Evans, Godwin goes off. You shift your focus to Godwin, then Evans will go off. So I think that's a really good security blanket for the team. Now, as we know, we need a third option, but I will talk about that later. So yeah, Mike Evans, amazing game. Second game at almost 200 yards against the Giants. I think he finished against the Giants with like 195 or something like that. So he should be again in the top 5 maybe of yards, top 10 for sure. But yeah, amazing performance from Evans. He really balled out. And I think after the Carolina loss in London or in England, he said that he was going to step up because that was a really bad game from him. So kudos to Mike Evans, and just grateful as a Bucs fan to have him. I think now he holds every Bucs receiving record, most touchdowns, most receptions, most yards. But yeah, great performance by Evans. Number 2, I want to give it to the secondary. Now, I know we lost and we gave up 3 touchdowns to Ryan Tannehill, but the fact that we held him to under 200 yards, considering he's a backup, considering how backups usually shred our defense, considering how we can never hold anybody under 300 yards, I give that a major plus. There was a lot of passes defense. Carlton Davis, he did have a couple bad pass interferences, defensive pass interferences, which he ended up picking the ball on. You know, we got to work on those, but I think he balled out. He probably had the best game of his career. I want to say he had 3 or 4 passes defense, but I think overall the defense, the secondary was running around, the safeties were running around, hitting players, chasing the ball. Just overall a great performance. Hargraves recovered a fumble. I think a lot of the completions that Tannehill made, it seemed like all of them were contested. Not really used to seeing that. A lot of times the receivers are running wide open. Now, there were a few deep balls or like intermediate balls that were wide open, but a lot of the close ones, like receivers were blanketing them like this. So good to see. Hopefully that's a turn in the right direction. Hopefully moving forward we see the defense kind of play that tight kind of coverage. So kudos to them as well. The third winner of the game I have to give to the D-line. 3 sacks in the game, 1 by JPP, 1 by Shaq Barrett, and 1 by Carl Nassib. Great performance. Glad to see JPP back on his first snap, which was the second defensive snap of the game. He got a sack, so it's good to see that. Even if he doesn't explode with, you know, 10, 12, 13 sacks, if he can give us 7 or 8 in these last half of the season, I think that'll be a great performance and great addition by him, considering he just came from breaking his neck in May. Good to see that he was being a leader on the field. I saw after Jameis threw the first pick, JPP was on the sideline hyping up the offense, and I think his leadership was greatly missed on the team. And it's good to see that he's, you know, taking over both sides of the ball and just talking to them and, you know, lifting everybody up. I think overall they did pretty decent on Derrick Henry. He ended up getting like 75 yards, I want to say, but we still held him to 100, below 100. So I think that's great from him. At some point, a running back is going to explode on us, and this was like the biggest explosion. So I think overall great performance from them. There was a lot of pressure. They had Ryan Tannehill off his spot. He was running a lot. He was getting hit a lot. So I think probably one of the better performances by the D-line. Overall, I know we've had games where Shaq Barrett had 4 sacks, but I think overall from all around the D-line, this was a wonderful performance. Now going to the losers of the game. Number 1 is Jameis Winston. 21 completions, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and 2 lost fumbles. Those turnovers are unacceptable. Now, I'm not going to say he was personally the sole loser of the game. I think the offensive line did a horrible job. I saw at the end of the game, after that last final pick, Jameis walked off and the back of his jersey was ripped, which tells you he was getting hit a lot. He was getting sacked. Not a good performance by the offensive line, which contributed to that, but still, I think there was that stretch at the end of the second quarter and beginning of third where he balled out, got his 2 touchdowns to Evans, and he looked great. Decision making was wonderful. He wasn't hesitating. He was focused. Laser throws, perfect. But then outside of that, it was kind of shaky. The 2 interceptions, the first one was just really bad, overthrew the receiver. The second one, based on what I was reading and seeing, again, going into the third receiving option, I don't know why we target Perriman, but it was a cover 2, and typically in a cover 2 the receiver wants to kind of cut inside, so Jameis threw it on the inside, but it looked like Perriman slowed down or just quit on the play. Horrible performance, so I'm not going to credit that to him 100%. The fumbles were also really bad. You got to hold on to the ball, but I mean, at some point, if you're going to keep getting hit and your offensive lineman like Donovan Smith is letting players just run through, which contributed to the second sack, not many quarterbacks can hold the ball in those situations, especially when you're trying to make a comeback with like less than 6 minutes left in the game. So bad performance by him. It's not his worst. I would give him probably a C in this game. I think he can be better. I hope he can be better the rest of the season, but I think a lot of it starts up front, and there's not many quarterbacks you can put back there behind that O-line and have them play a flawless game. So Jameis, loser in this game, but a lot of it was contributed by the O-line. The second loser of the game I want to give to Byron Leftwich and the play calling. This has been a common trend in my videos. The play calling has been horrendous. Specifically that last 4th and 1 with like 2 minutes and change left or whatever it was. Horrible, horrible play call. We called a timeout specifically to get the play going. We line up and then we pick a draw. We call a draw, and the defender who hit Peyton Barber was untouched. Just ran right through the line untouched. Doesn't make any sense. I think you have Mike Evans was balling out all day. They couldn't stop him. Chris Godwin has reliable hands. Cameron Brate has always been a reliable option for Jameis. Forget about Scotty Miller and Brashard Perriman. But just between those 3. And then you could also, I mean, I wouldn't have QB sneaked it, but that was just a bad play call. I think Byron Leftwich needs to lose his play calling duties. I think it needs to go back to Bruce Arians. I understand he said he didn't want to call plays because of the stress that it adds, but listen, man, if you want to win games, you're going to have to pull that back from him. He has decent stretches in games where he calls wonderful plays and the offense is humming, but it always feels like once the offense is humming, he goes back to calling weird plays and just it doesn't make sense. He doesn't really necessarily have a feel for the game flow yet, or that's what it comes off as. Like he just doesn't really understand how to flow within the game with the play calls. So that's a very bad loser of the game. Very bad play calling. The last losers of the game would be every receiver from the 3rd spot down between Scotty Miller, Justin Watson, I don't know who else we've activated, Brashard Perriman. I don't understand the Byron Leftwich fascination with throwing the ball to Scotty Miller and Perriman. You got Evans, who catches a lot of balls thrown his way. You got Godwin, who catches literally everything thrown his way. And then you have Brashard Perriman, who's fast but hasn't shown us that he can catch anything. Horrible hands, horrible route running. All he has is speed. Bad awareness on the field. That last pick, like I said, it looked like he gave up, slowed down. He didn't edge inward like you're supposed to against the cover 2. Just overall a very bad performance by him. And then Scotty Miller, his speed, I hear he's fast. I haven't really seen him on the field really show that speed like that. We target him on a lot of deep balls, and he's a really small guy. It's like he's like an Adam Humphries, but not as effective. He's not as quick. He's not as good. His hands aren't as good. I don't understand the fascination. I think we need a 3rd option to step up. I really want it to be O.J. Howard. Just put O.J. Howard in the slot and have him beat the linebackers or safeties or whoever is coming in on him. I get you need him to block, but I mean, if you can find a way to block, have running back, have him chip. I don't know. We need to figure out something, because if we just rely on Evans and Godwin, we're doing okay, but it's not enough to win the game. Going back to Byron Leftwich play calling, I don't understand anytime we're inside the 10, he comes with these weird play calls. Like you got Godwin, who catches everything. You got Evans, who's tall. Brate is a taller, reliable target, but you keep trying to do all these cute plays and all these reverses and wide receiver, like running backs and these draws. It just doesn't make sense. You have one of the better receivers in the league. Big guy, can jump. Throw the fade. Throw the outside fade. Throw one-on-one balls. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But overall, those are the losers of the game. I don't want to keep it going. I think next week we play in Seattle. Probably going to be a loss. We haven't shown that we can consistently beat good teams in Seattle. Russell Wilson's really good. He's not going to get hit often. He's not going to get sacked often. The receivers are getting open. So Gonna be a rough week next week too, but hopefully we can win. Thank you for tuning in to my reaction. Make sure you click the subscribe button down below, and please comment down below, what do you think our biggest need is position-wise? Like, if we are going to trade, if we're going to make a trade by the deadline, which I think is Tuesday, what is the biggest need that you want to see us get? Is it corner? Is it offensive lineman? Is it another receiver? Let me know down below. But yeah, as always, it's a Bucs life. Thank you for tuning in, and I am out.
Our offense tough, our defense rough. Go Bucs, go Bucs. Ain't no other team stopping us. Go Bucs, go Bucs.